Hi, I am your host, Danielle Smith.
And my name's Danny Tivalu, and welcome to our podcast.
It's Glow Time.
We'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of this land, the Yugambeh and Komameri people, and pay our respects for elders past, present, and emerging, acknowledging that this always was and always will be Aboriginal land.
Hi everyone, and welcome to this episode of It's Glow Time. I'm Danielle Smith, and we've also got Danny T joining us as the beautiful co-host. And today we are talking to Rich Muir, who is an amazing meditation teacher and has amazing stories about how he got to become a meditation teacher. And I have been fortunate enough to learn from him and also collaborate with him on retreats. So with that, I'd love to welcome you onto the show today, Rich.
Thanks, guys. Good to be here. Looking forward to chatting.
Thanks for joining us.
So I thought we'd just start with giving you the opportunity just to tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, for sure. Anything in particular or just in general?
We'll just get started of, I suppose your meditation, what type of meditation that you teach?
Yeah, for sure. So I teach under the practice of what's called Vedic Meditation. Now I'll hash that out a little bit. So Vedic Meditation is, in earliest indications around, like from written around 5,000, but it could be up to potentially 10,000 years of age. So this is a really ancient technique and the body of wisdom from which it derives from. And the wonderful thing about it is that it's now so backed by science that it's one of those mind-blowing things that these techniques have been around for 5,000 years serving humans, and yet we're kind of now getting the ability to measure and quantify what these ancient masters have been saying. Look how powerful this is, and they would be laughing, going, of course it is, we've been telling you this for thousands of years, but now we can actually, from our Western intellect, quantify what it does. So the Vedic technique, because there's three forms of meditation, and they're very different. Most meditation practices that we all know of or hear of or maybe have experienced are basically derived from monastic people. So monastic people are like living in ashrams and caves. They're kind of left the relative world like Buddha, and they go out and seek truth, God, divine, happiness, peace, whatever word or language we wish to apply to it. And they can go and then try and calm and quiet the mind to sort of go into that inner space and place where they might touch something which lights up their whole being. Yet those practices, as wonderful as they are, can be quite hard. So if we sit down with someone that's maybe stressed, which most of us are, especially in the current environment, the majority of the planet is experiencing fear, stress and agitation and maybe COVID fatigue, and which is causing all these impacts on our nervous system. If we say, okay, sit down, close your eyes, now calm the mind, very soon they're going to find, I can't calm my mind. Maybe meditation's not for me. And so the practice of calming the mind is a challenging one. And as I said, something which isn't necessarily designed for us in the busy world. So for those of us that maybe have had meditation experiences, and a lot of us might have, be it at the end of a yoga class, or just attending one, and we've gone and experienced that. Like my introduction to it was at the end of yoga class. That was Shavasana, where you lie down. I was falling asleep, and this is wonderful. Whereas if you go to most meditation classes, they're trying to do that, where you're calming the mind by maybe a mechanism of following the breath, maybe watching a candle, or just being aware of what you're feeling. And to stay focused on that, it's kind of a Jedi master move. It's like Yoda, whereas most of us can't do that. As I said, if you try and hold your attention in no space and just focus on the breath, maybe after 4 or 5 seconds, maybe 6, 7, 8 seconds, 10 seconds after a period of practice, you might be able to hold that therefore, but most of us can't. So it can actually increase experiences of stress and anxiety and exacerbate that feeling, maybe meditation is not for me. So we have two hemisphere practices. The left hemisphere practice of meditation, you might be purely concentrating, focusing on the breath. And that's actually been shown to increase concentration and focus, funnily enough, but it also has been shown to activate the same part of the brain as when people are solving a math problem. So that's where, again, a lot of people find, I can't do it, really hard. And that's a really hard practice. The other practice is a right hemisphere practice where we're using the present moment awareness and you might be using like a mindfulness technique or the imagination. So if you're visualizing, I might be visualizing myself in a calm space, or visualizing energy, or visualizing whatever it might be. And that's actively involving the mind and our imaginations into the practice, which stems from that right hemisphere. And as the mindfulness is where we're just coming back to the moment with no judgment, just being aware of what's happening and what's moving through us. They're good practices, and mindfulness has definitely been shown to reduce the impacts of stress, and there's lots of good studies on it. But again, it's derived from that concept of trying to calm, bring the mind back, and that focus and so on. Yet what the technique of the Vedic technique is where we are not using concentration nor contemplation by getting the mind involved. We're using a mantra, and a mantra in this case is a sound. So there's thousands of different mantras, and the mantras in this particular pool that we use for the Vedic technique are called bija mantras. So bija means seed. So they're seed mantras, and these mantras are phonetic sounds with no applied meaning. So when we get given, and as an individual get given the correct mantra for their correct nervous system that works for them to lead them into a state of rest. So we're not focusing on the mantra, and there's really subtle paradox within this technique, because do I focus on it? No, we don't concentrate on it. And because there's no implied meaning with the mantra, there's no contemplation or mind getting involved. So therefore, it's just a sound that lures us into this beautiful state of rest, which has been shown to be 2 to 5 times greater than that of sleep. So in that state is where we're getting an incredible amount of profound benefit from the practice. So that's kind of, I guess, a really snapshot overview of the technique that I teach, of the Vedic practice. And the good thing is it's also been shown to be the easiest form of meditation, because we're not concentrating, we're not contemplating. Your thoughts are a part of the technique. So if you can think, you can do Vedic meditation. And so Vedic meditation stems from householders like you and I. We have careers, we have families, we live in this world where it's really agitating to the nervous system. So we get jacked up into that high beta, high frequency brain activity. We wake up in the morning, we're jumping on phones, we're looking at news, we're looking at COVID, and all of a sudden we go into this stress state. So we're really agitated. So the beauty of this is that the fact that we're not trying to calm or quieten the mind, it just basically we use the tool of the mantra, and it just leads us inwards. And then we get this deep state of rest, removing a lot of that damage or that agitation within the nervous system. So yeah, that's a kind of like I'm talking.
Well, the how you mentioned around, like, a lot of people decide that meditation is not for them. That's the exact same experience I had. I went down to, doing mindfulness techniques, and then, going to a Buddhist congregation. I'm not sure, it's like a gathering of like Buddhist teachings, and yeah, it was like just trying to quiet my mind. It just wouldn't work. And then I found the Vedic meditation, and it's that aha moment of just being able to let go, be present, and you feel just this deep-seated rest and presence and like consciousness as well. It's such a beautiful feeling to be in. But yeah, I think people lose the opportunity of how good meditation is if they do go to those practices, if they do have a severely agitated mind. Yeah. So if someone does want to work with learning the Vedic meditation, how would they go about contacting you in regards to that?
They can, like, I've got a website, the Meditation Spot is probably the best bet. That way they can go and have a look. With Vedic technique, the thing I like about it as well is it's not something, some people might not like resonate with that, but you have to learn it in person. You can't just go and jump on, online and do it, or an app, not to take away from the merit from any of those things. But this is a technique which has been passed down from teacher to student for over 5,000 years. So there's a lot of people that love the idea of that connection to something which is beyond just, whatever we want to call it, the social disconnect, but we have to connect in the physical presence, and you come and learn the technique so that you are self-sufficient in the practice. So yeah, they can just jump on my website to have a look. It goes through a little bit more about that, the practice and so on. So yeah, website where I am on social media occasionally under Rich Muir Meditation. I can occasionally find stuff for me on there.
Awesome. And so for those people that go and quickly say, oh, I don't have time to meditate, the beautiful thing about the Vedic meditation is that it doesn't require that much amount of time once you've learnt it. So could you run us through how long it actually takes to do the practice and what you actually get out of those, like that time frame?
Yeah, look, I might even preempt it by saying in the modern world, look, we always need these practices, and look, admittedly, there's some nervous systems out there, some people that just seem really resilient. They're naturally, they've buffered, they've got to the world and so on, but I'd say they're an anomaly. For the most of us experiencing kind of an inward state of stress, and we've normalized this experience. We kind of just adapted into our lives. Oh, I just hustle and, go. And especially in the modern world. And this is why we're seeing epidemic levels of stress, anxiety, and depression. And again, but we've normalized that. That's just, it's just life. It's not. We numb ourselves, with, certain products, practice from like, alcohol or marijuana or chocolate, blocks of chocolate or TV, whatever it is, just to help us feel better. And it's a sign of intelligence, because we don't want to feel the way we're feeling, and that way as soon as we have that glass of sip of beer, it's like, oh, that's better. So we're listening to our bodies to a degree, but our bodies are actually crying out for help when we have these experiences of stress. But again, we're just normal. I think it is just a part of life. So in regards to the comment around timing, the only people that don't have time to meditate are new mums. And they're the ones that are up every 2 to 4 hours. Like, it's crazy. And I teach a lot of pregnant women and new parents. And for them, the greatest gift is like, well, when you're breastfeeding, then you can meditate, which is, I think, is a really beautiful concept, because we're dropping into this different conscious state. We're dropping into these alpha and these theta brain waves. We're just getting this deep state of rest and relaxation. And that goes through the bubs as well. So they're the only people I don't say have time. I've taught people that are, they're doing 12-hour days, it is really just a matter of like, do we want to perform optimally? Do we want to feel great? Do we want to engage all of our wonderful tools within our nervous system? Because the minute we're stressed, we can't do that. So, the concept of Vedic meditation is that we do it twice a day for 20 minutes. So for some people, they're like, oh, I don't have that time, mate. We do. It's, just jump off social media for half an hour a day. There's like, if you look at usage on your phone, I'm sure most of us would go, oh my God, like I'm spending 3 hours a day on my iPhone. And then, again, they're all cool things to do, but, it's like, if we want to be living optimally and happily and really engage with self and with others, these techniques just help us to perform really well. So when we're giving ourselves that 20 minutes twice a day, from a science level right now, it's really important, because it's actually shown to increase our immune system, or just activate it, because when we're stressed, we're deactivating and downregulating our immune system. So let's take, for example, what's going on around the world at the moment. Everyone's, and it's the exacerbation of fear is really kind of like, you turn on any media station, it's just like, oh my God. And that's what media generally does. The story's always quite negative. Yet with the threat of COVID and, you look around the world right now, it's insane. And not to take away from what it's doing to people, but yeah, if we become scared of that, we're immediately becoming more prone to getting viruses. So because of our immune system gets downregulated, if we stay stressed, it goes offline. And I was teaching a course to a doctor and going through this about stress, and he goes, yeah, do you know why that's happening? And it's like, no, I don't. You're the doctor. He goes, well, it's the conservation of energy. So when we're in these stress states, our body is thinking there's an invisible enemy out there. This is regardless of any virus. If we go into stress, the body's under that system. It's fighting something. And so it's turning off your digestive system. It's turning off your immune response. So therefore, when your next door neighbor gets COVID, you're going to be far more likely to get a virus uptake. So from the perspective of just giving your nervous system a twice a day deep rest, you're going to be far more robust in your own health to make sure that, you know, you can deal with what's at hand. And, you know, be just, you know, who knows, if you get it, maybe it's just going to be mild. And like, I've got friends that have had it, and they're kind of like, yeah, a few days of bumpy weather, but no big deal. Others, I know, certainly have extreme versions of it, so I'm not downplaying the element of it. But when we meditate, it's been scientifically shown to be far more robust. And there's a guy called Dr. Joe Dispenza who's done some amazing studies on meditation, and they even had professors from uni injected SARS-CoV-19 into blood work from people who were meditating, and they had, before they learned, after they learned, and then long-term meditators. And the long-term meditators showed no viral uptake. The people that hadn't done any meditation showed instant viral uptake. So there's some crazy studies like this going on at the moment. So what do we get from it? You're going to be far more healthy. You just become better at dealing with life. You know, meditation isn't a magic bullet, but we do it. And it's kind of, I liken it to, you know, we go out in the modern world and it's like getting sunburnt really badly. And each and every day we just get to rub some aloe vera on the sunburn. It's like, and it helps restore the skin and become more apt at dealing with the ability to repair and regenerate its cells and so on. So we just be able to just respond to life rather than react. So when we also get stressed, we turn up our intelligence. We become sick and stupid. So, yeah, and that's what we're seeing a lot right now, is this us versus them. There seems to be this real dilemma of what side are you on? And that's classic case of the limbic part of the brain. We've lost access to our prefrontal cortex, which is the latest evolution in the human brain, and we revert back to that primal part of us, which we needed it to survive. And because there's two sides, and which side are you on? We're going to kill you if you're not on my side. And right now, it's the divide is crazy. So, you know, at least when we remain intelligent, we can go, well, let's explore both sides. Let's stay in the grey area and look for the positives in both and see where the commonality is. So we become more able to use our emotional regulation, emotional intelligence, respond rather than react. We have more access to creativity. So there's thankfully some amazing science shows the profound benefits of the practice when we do it on a daily basis. So there's lots to gain investing that 40 minutes.
Yeah, I often say to people that when your nervous system is like dysregulated and it's a bit out of whack, like your reactions don't actually match the situation. Like you become more irrational. Yeah. So I think with like meditation and breathing, like it gives you that ability for your reaction. Well, it actually becomes more of a response. You can respond to a situation, and then that actually matches what's going on.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
And sorry, Rich. And also, I was just thinking before, like I love meditation, and it's been a real game changer for me. What about for like people? It did, like, I will totally admit, it took me a while to engage with meditation. I found it quite confronting first when I'd try to sit in silence. So would you give any advice to people who are maybe at that stage where they probably haven't meditated before, or like struggle when they sit in quiet space or silence?
Yeah, I guess it would come back to, again, depending on the technique and the individual. And again, just want to underpin that a lot of the apps and stuff out there are wonderful. They're all good, and you can certainly jump onto some of those and try it. You know, but isn't it crazy that and it's so common, like a lot of us, when we sit to think, oh my God, I can't sit quietly. Like, it's almost, as you said, it's almost scary, like that we sit with our own reality.
Well, we have so much constant input all the time. Like from the minute you get up, like your alarm clock on your phone, you jump on email, social media, like there's never really space where there's no input. So it's very rare that we actually sit in silence, like, expose ourselves to that. So the first time you do it, it can be petrifying.
I don't like
really scary.
I like it. And look, it's really common, and then, as you said, it's all the inputs, and we're just snorkeling. It's kind of like we're spending our life sitting at the surface level of the ocean, and we're outwardly projected by our senses, so we're just stuck up in that thought world. And when we're not being stimulated by this external sense-driven media or inputs from stuff, it's like it becomes quite confronting initially. And that's why it's important to make sure that we do potentially try the right technique. Because if we try and sit there and just come back to the moment, it's like, well, I don't really like the moment. It's because like I'm normally, and we get agitated, right? I've like, I've seen it, felt it when we sit and try and quieten the mind. It's like, man, I don't want to be in here. This just sucks. Like, and because the mind loves to move towards a feel of greater happiness. It's just that what the mind does. So the mind moves to a state of charm. And if we're constantly outwardly projected, and it's what's next? Okay, I'm sitting here. Oh, I'm looking at the TV, or maybe I put the TV on. That'll make me happier. Oh, I'm bored with TV now. Maybe I feel like going for a swim. Yeah, that'll make me. Maybe I'll pick up a book. Then I'll go, oh, man, that's happening on social media. And I think the internet and social media has just made us even more those spans of happiness more fleeting. So we're continually just jumping. So for those of us, when we sit and try and pull the rug out from under that, it's like, whoa, like my mind is like Dory on like Finding Me. Right? What was it? What was it? It was like, so it's to first of all just laugh, give yourself, and to laugh at the freaking insanity of our minds. It's like, oh my God, I am a Fruit Loop, and being comfortable with that, like, because your mind is like, it is, when we sit and start to observe it, first of all, it can be confronting to, we always kind of have this thing, oh, my mind is so weird. And most of us, when we sort of, if you said outwardly what we say inwardly, people go, oh, that's not very nice. So we can just start to sit there and observe that. It can be quite confronting. So to give ourselves that nurturing love and compassion that I'm not alone, everyone's the same. We've trained our minds to be like spinning monkeys on their spinning plates, and it's the monkey mind is like from mindfulness sort of goes and all that sort of stuff. So, but then again, it's to really say, well, the beautiful thing about what I stumbled in the dark for 8 years from different techniques, and from Vipassanas to mindfulness to different apps to neurofeedback. Back in the day, there was these programs, how to meditate deeper than a Zen monk, and like you put on this CD and headphones, and they'd get you into these brain states. Like, it's like, but it's kind of like, yeah. So some felt okay, some felt good, but some just didn't really work for me. So again, it's not a matter of giving up on the practice. It's a matter of finding that technique which resonates and really works. And that's where, as soon as I came to the Vedic technique for myself, was just like, okay, this works. It's easy and effortless and effective. So if it's not easy, we're just after a day or two, we're just not going to do it. Like, what's the point? Life's hard enough as it is. So if you're finding it hard, you might be doing the wrong technique, and so on. And if you're doing something which you're not finding it very effective, well, then it might be the wrong technique as well. Like, again, might be an appetizer, because I teach a lot of people that I've been using the apps, but I want to deepen my practice because I'm not really fear. I just want to go to the next step, or I've been doing this or that. So it can be a natural progression for some people just to start with one thing and end up at the Vedic technique. Some people come straight to it. So it's really just a matter of if you like the idea of meditation. And for some of us, it's just, we just know intrinsically, I need to do this. I don't know why, but I feel like I should. And it's like the seed is ready for it. Other people have just got no interest in meditation, and that's fine. But for those of us that know, I know I need to meditate, or I'm curious about it, let's just sort of follow those breadcrumbs and see what resonates, and sort of, but again, go easy with it. If you are trying techniques at home, or following advice, you read a book that says do this or do that, and you're finding it hard, just understand it's just your brain. The mind is meant to move. And that's why the beautiful thing about the Vedic technique is that thoughts are part of the practice. It's not an enemy. So we're not failing when we're thinking. No, it's just part of it. So again, sometimes I'd recommend, if people really resonate, straight away just go to the best, for what I've found to be the best. And science shows a lot of the promise behind it is to learn something like Vedic meditation or transcendental meditation, because they derive from the same lineage. And but if you are just sticking it out at home, just laugh at your mind and just be.
Yeah, I think it is nice as well, because like, since I first met you, Rich, we like have been practicing Vedic meditation at home, and I really love the practice. And I love the fact that it's like every now and then you do have meditations which are very thought heavy, and you kind of just, I suppose, just surrender in that moment and just roll with the flow and go, well, this is a stress clearing meditation today, and like, this is how my meditation is. It's not good or bad.
Yeah. And it's a crazy thing, isn't it? Because like a lot of us, a lot of those misconceptions of meditation are that, oh, we're meant to calm and quiet mind. But a calm, quiet mind is the byproduct of a calm, quiet nervous system. So I always use the analogy of, I think the easiest understanding of it is if you've got a carbonated bottle of water, if we look at it from the outside, it looks clear. The minute we release that pressure valve, all of a sudden we see agitation moving through that water and coming out. So there's a So when we're sitting down to meditate, if we've got stress or agitation in the nervous system, doesn't make sense that we're always going to be experiencing a calm, quiet, blissful meditation. God, no. It's like, and at the same time, we often forget, why did I come to meditation? It wasn't, I want to have like 20 minutes of bliss. It's like, for some reason, I just want to be better at life. Do you know what I mean? It's not like, I've never met anyone that's come to learn that's gone, yeah, I'm here to be a good meditator. It's like, really? Why? It's like, we're here to live, right? We're here to experience life, and that 20 minutes just helps us do it. So as you said, to release that stress, if that agitation is moving through that bottle of water, it's going to ruffle the surface layer. And if that bottle's shaken up, wow, it's going to be 20 minutes of sometimes a bit of agitation moving through us, and to have the ability just to go, I'm okay with that. I'm just, as you said, it's cool. It's just stress release. So, and that's a beautiful part of the technique, is when you go through the process and you go, oh, wow, I'm just releasing the stress. It's like, yeah, perfect.
Yeah. And like you mentioned several times as well, like meditation, and I'm sure most people who do practice just know it makes everything better. It makes your life better. So, and I feel when you do have a consistent practice, it's very evident. Like I did have practice really consistently for quite a period of time, and then I had a little break. I fell out of rhythm, and I did notice the difference. It was almost nice to see the difference from when I was meditating consistently through to like when I fell off the wagon and had to jump back onto it. So yeah, it's really good.
Well, you want to experience something, hey? It's not like, it's like I'm 40 minutes a day into this thing, and I'm not really, I don't know. Like, but the funny thing is, I've had people that, thankfully, some of us are more aware of what's happening internally and our responses and so on. There's a few people that are kind of really switched off from that, and it might take them a period of time to really engage with it. But there was a lady, and just wasn't sure if she was deriving much benefit from it. And you know, I said, well, scientifically, as long as you're doing this technique correctly as per your instruction, you're going to be getting a lot of scientific benefit on a neurological and a physiological level. And that's just science. But she goes, but I said, in saying that, I get it. It's 40 minutes and you're a really busy woman. So I said, well, you know, just run the experiment. And so she ran the experiment. Shortly thereafter, her family was encouraging her back to meditation. Oh, you should go meditate, Mum, because it's like,
maybe that's the gift of like not doing it for a little while, was just to see the difference.
Totally.
I think it's good to get that contrast so you can see, and it's just again proof that this is why I do this.
Yeah. I'm not doing it to become a magic butterfly. I'm just doing it to be the better person, and I might be that little less reactive to my children. And I had a friend that it's a really beautiful student, and she sent me this text message. I think it was probably about 6 months ago. Her mum and dad were up, and she sent me this beautiful message. Oh my God, I was meditating, and my daughter walked in, and she saw me meditating. So I think her daughter's around 7 or 8, and she walked back out to her grandparents, and goes, "Oh, you know what? I'm so glad Mum meditates now. She's no longer the angry mum." You know, how cool is that, right? You know, whereas that, and what does that then empower to our children and so on? So it's so cool when these sort of experiences start to play. But what can also happen is, you know, as you said, it just makes everything better. You can imagine driving a car with a really dirty windscreen. And if you've been driving that car for years and years and years like that, you've just normalized this is just life. I can kind of see out, but everything's harder. I don't know, I'm turning there, and all of a sudden you go through and someone cleans that windscreen and the windows for you. Oh my God, I can actually not only drive, I can see the view, I can experience that. I've got plenty of time to see what's ahead of me. My reactive time's far greater. I can enjoy the moment far much better because I'm not like sitting gazing intently out the window. And we can really enjoy that experience of driving and of life. But what can also happen is over a period of time, we kind of forget that contrast point because the windscreen hasn't been dirty for a while now. and it's just life. I forgot how hard it was to drive with a really dirty windscreen. And so some people find that 6-12 months in, I just don't, like initially, oh my God, Rich, my life's changed so much. And then 12 months, I'm not sure if it's doing much. It's like, yeah, it has. It's like, remember that dirty windscreen? But it just becomes a part of life. And, and I have a lot of people I've taught where, some people take it to like ducks to water. Not everyone is, like it took me a few attempts to really lock it into a daily practice. But some people use it like a crisis tool. They feel fixed. Oh my God, I don't experience anxiety anymore. I can stop meditating. It's like, no, stress doesn't take a holiday. But again, as you said, that sometimes it's having that break when we go, oh yeah, life is better when I'm meditating, because I found myself being more reactive. I wanted to go and drink more, and nothing wrong with drinking. I enjoy a glass of wine and all that sort of stuff, but I don't need it anymore. I used to need it.
When you become reliant on it, or like that's your coping mechanism for stress, then that's the problem.
It becomes a maladaptive tool, like, whereas at least now we can enjoy these things, like I said, as seeing on the view while driving down the highway and listening to music, and rather than just focus on the road. It's like,
I can't see 2 feet ahead of me.
Totally. And it's kind of what a lot of us are living like. That, I had another great analogy of it. It's like that, when you walk into the movie cinema and you're a bit late, and it's like, can't be that busy. It's just a normal weeknight. And you walk in there and the cinema's packed and the only seats are the very front row. It's like, oh, all right. And you're sitting there. It's so intense. You're lying back and you're trying to take it in, but it's really overwhelming, like, because it's so close to you. And so when we start to meditate, it's like we get the middle row. You get that perfect position, not too far away, rather than just being so confronted by life. It's so intense. It's one of those cool things that just gives us that buffer to be able to enjoy it without being overwhelmed or overawed by life.
Yeah, and I think it's an important part of the process to feel that contrast, like you mentioned, because then I feel like that happened to me, and it just reignited the power of it. And when you actually do see the difference that it does make, then you again like recreate that bond to it, and you're less likely to stop with the practice, and it just becomes a non-negotiable. Like, it's just one of I like to call these things like daily freedoms of the things that you do every day that allow you to become great. And meditation is one of them for me, because I did experience doing it, then not doing it, and realizing what an impact like a positive impact it has on me, just in regards to being able to be an observer of your thoughts. I think was the biggest thing with that. And not judging yourself, and just being more like, okay, where's that? Being so much more emotionally intelligent as well.
As I said, because you can get swept up in those eddies, can't you? If you, like, we just sort of live trapped by our thoughts. And as I said, it's like we're snorkeling around that top of that surface level of the ocean. And a lot of it, like at the moment, it's like a storm. It was like, 2 weeks ago when we had last week when we had the cyclones out to sea up on the Gold Coast. And it's really intense and crazy. And it's like the winds are howling, and like you got to hold on for life. And it's like, oh my God. And again, that's kind of what the modern world feels like. It's like food's going low. It's like I can't get toilet paper. And it's like really freaking, like, it's a crazy time of life for all of us. And it's like we're at top of that level, and it becomes really hard to hold on and to remain calm and coherent. Yet when we're doing these techniques, it's like the beautiful sayings is, you imagine looking at the storm, like when that cyclone was hitting out to sea, like you'd have like 20 foot, 30 foot waves, like 8 to 10 meter waves out to sea. It's pretty scary out there. But if you took a cross section of that ocean and went down to the very depths, it's just calm and quiet. And that's kind of what we're touching every day when we do these techniques, where we pick up the mantra, we drop into this beautiful deep state. And sometimes, yes, the mind is still moving. We're aware the mind is moving, but I feel that connection. I feel that current, that source of like the ocean, of just that depth and calmness. And when we touch that little fleeting state of unboundedness, it is just an incredibly beautiful experience. And it's just calming. For me, I liken the word to, it's just the first time I really felt at home in myself. I was like, oh my God, this is what the great books have referred to, or the great teachers have referred to as what you seek is within. This is exactly that. It's just this feeling of, there's nowhere else I'd rather be right now. And that can last a second. Sometimes,
Yeah.
you're not spending 20 minutes like turning off the insanity of being rich for like 20 minutes. Rich now bathe in bliss and touch this beautiful unbounded state. But it's when we touch that for a fleeting moment and then we come back out, and sometimes it might take a period of time, but some people, they jump in the first couple of sessions, I felt so calm. I haven't felt that calm for ages, and that touching that little space. Then when we come back up to that storm, we can just deal with it so much better. So yeah, it's an amazing thing, and that's what blows me away, is that how did these ancient masters and these ancient rishis, so a rishi is a sage and a seer, how did they cognize these techniques, like come up with them, like, and the beautiful thing is from the Vedas. So the Vedas is a body of wisdom which predates any ism, so it's not like a religion or anything like that. It's the study of nature, and these ancient masters have come up with these techniques and there's meditation from other beautiful lineages as well. But it just comes back to there's something in us that just relishes in those moments, and it enhances us. I think it just helps us to really go past because our mind, as science knows, we make up most of our experience. We're living in a world that's stuck looping our thoughts continually. So we're very rarely experiencing a true reality. We're just cultivating and creating our experience of it. Yet when we touch that deep current, I think that's just touching true life and the beauty of nature, and that we're intimately connected to it all. So, but then we come back up to the top and we go and engage and be busy and play the game and deal with life and all its agitations, and then we drop back down the bottom and go, oh. It's like the soothing balm, and that just really helps us to perform as optimally as possible, because we're here to live and to be the best version of ourselves. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is. It's really beautiful. And yeah, so how long have you been teaching Vedic meditation for now?
So I've been teaching full-time for over 3 years now. And I've been meditating for 15 years. And so when I first came to the practice, I was probably like most people, I probably feel it's probably apt that I kind of share that journey of my arrival at meditation. So I didn't get brought up in a household where, Eastern influences and practice were a common ground. Far the opposite. Middle class family. Dad was just a country tough character. If you can't see it, it's not real. It's like, and he'd love his beers and his drinks and, all that sort of stuff. And so I kind of grew up in that kind of environment with all the stuff that that generation of, toughen up, some boys don't cry, and be a man's man, and all this sort of thing. And here I was gravitating at certain young ages to Eastern influences. And then I put all those aside. I went on, became quite successful in a career, and made a lot of money as a 26-year-old. Like, I went from being a stone young art student at 23 to then earning close to 200 grand 3 years later, managing a massage dealership. And like, it was nuts. Here I was, this was 20 years ago, driving around in a Benz, and had a house in the northern beaches at Avalon. And so I was kind of living on that front, like the Western world's perspective of success. I was kind of really on that road to, I'm achieving and I'm killing it. But a few years in, I was like, I just don't feel any different. In fact, I kind of feel worse. And so I left that industry, and then experienced, I guess, the degree of mental fatigue and burnout. Is this life? Do I just keep living in that, accumulating and, getting more and making more money? And, and I had wife and family, kids, but inside it was just like, something's just not right. And I'd always been a seeker from a very young age. Like, I went and explored different things and psychedelics from like 14 and 15. So I had these out of the world experiences. Then I'd come home and there's Dad going, no, that's all bullshit. And I'd be reading books from Buddha and, Cahill Gibran and these amazing poets and books on shamanism. And so I was having these crazy experiences, and trying to accommodate that into the modern world was really hard because I had no frameworks. So there was this current in me which was just seeking and searching for something beyond the norm, beyond this reality that I'm watching unfold in front of my eyes, because it just, to me, didn't make sense. It just didn't feel right. It just, so I went numb myself, like, through drugs and so on, and expressing myself through my artistic endeavors to try and communicate with the world, because it just fundamentally didn't feel right. And then I met a lady I was at a party one night, and she was just vibrating at such a high frequency. She was just radiating. And I was like, Just give me one sec. The joys of the modern world. Oh my God.
Excuse this brief intermission.
So I was and I just chatted stage change. I said, "Oh, what's your story? Like, where are you from?" And she goes, "Oh, look, I've just come back from doing Vipassana." And I go, "What's that?" And I was like, she goes, "Well, it's a 10-day noble science retreat." And I was, early 30s at the time, or approaching 30s. Like, oh my God, wow! And I straight away just knew that's something I had to do. And I'd experienced meditation in the yoga studio before that, whereas I was falling asleep and going, "I like this. This is kind of nice."
So relaxing.
So relaxing, man. It was like my favorite part of the yoga class. It was like falling asleep with the music on for 10 minutes and waking up. Oh, it's really cool. And then, so I straight away knew how to do it, go and do it. Went and did it, and it was the most cathartic experience I'd had without any third-party substance involved. And it's 10 days of sitting cross-legged, doing 10 and a half hours a day meditating. And, and I had a lot. It was physically so painful for me. It's so much, probably the worst pain I've ever had in my life. And yeah, but after a few days, you managed to, like, probably 6-7 days in, I managed to get slightly comfortable. But it's like the mixed martial arts version of meditation. You're not allowed to speak to anyone. You don't look anyone in the eye. You don't talk. You don't read. You don't write. You are just in your head for 10 days. And for me, it was like I had 30 episodes of The Simpsons running simultaneously for the first 3 days. I thought, I'm in crazy. My mind is like spinning. But then I came out of it feeling so grounded, so powerful and present. So the opposite of kind of what I thought I would. I thought, and even I think my family thought, oh my God, what's he doing? Is he going to do on a cult? Like, again, this was so, meditation wasn't really, everyone knew the word, but it's kind of a weird thing that
wasn't as prevalent.
It was like, you're going to become a monk, or you're going to realize, like, but I just knew, again, a seed within me from the books I'd read, from everything, was like, okay, if what you seek it within, man, I've got to go try and find this thing. And so I felt a wonderful space. But then from when you're meant to come and meditate for 2 hours a day, an hour in the morning and an hour at night. So I had kids and business, and I was like, the minute I broke that habit, I was like, it was done, because it was hard. So it was a hard practice, right? You're sitting cross-legged on the floor for an hour. So it's not really friendly to the householders. But I felt great as long as I'd do it. I'd last maybe 2 weeks, maybe 3, and life was wonderful. And then I'd stop and feel good for a period of time, that I'd still be sitting in the wake of it. And then, sure enough, stress would come back in. And then I just knew I needed it. I'd try these other things. I'd go to a seminar, or I'd go to this, and, tick every box under the sun. Self-development, blah, 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 blah. And then I went and tried mindfulness, and they didn't feel as effective as the Vipassana. And then I went back to Vipassana 3 times to try and sustain it, to make it a daily practice. But and then I had a friend go, I was going to go back because
I just, like, you went to Vipassana 3 times.
Yeah.
I've said I've done it once, but I'll never do it again.
Yeah. Look, I'm a big fan. I'm a raving fan of Vipassana. It's for the experience, not for a day-to-day practice. I really do love it, and it's so powerful. But yeah, as I said, it's a challenge. So I was going to go back again for a 4th time. I had a friend who I really revere and look up to. He goes, man, just stop with that. You're not going to make it last. Go do Vedic meditation. I've gone, what's that? Because we learn over a couple of sessions. You use a mantra, and you do it for 20 twice a day. I've gone, oh, I can do that. And you sit comfortably. You're not sitting cross the floor. I was like, oh man, that's even better. And so for me, I went and experienced it straight away. I was like, oh, this is easy, effective, and effortless. I can do it. And sure, I wasn't like an A-grade student. Like he said, I've never missed a day. I've missed weeks and times and periods, but I could always come back to it easily. And then it just became a lock that was a part of my day-to-day life. And so that was about 7 years ago, or probably 7, 8 years, not too sure, where I first learned it. And then I knew straight away, I'm here to teach this. I just knew it. It was just something that I guess we just know on a deep level. I knew I was always here to do this kind of work and to work with people in this fashion, but I just didn't know how I'd look at it and how it'd be. That's why I've been down a path of I became an NLP guy, but I used it for the while. I said, no, that's not it. And I'd always sabotage these things along the way because I just didn't feel intrinsically right. But as soon as I came, it's like, yeah, this feels so right. And I love it because there's no ego, there's no mind, it's no
it's just get rid of all that and let go and water the root of your being. And a lot of the stuff will sort itself out. We just start to let go of those inner stresses and so on. And so then about 4 years ago, I started the journey to become a teacher, and that took 12 months. And then so for the last 3 years, been teaching and got rid of my business, and just this is what I do now. So I feel very grateful to be able to share it.
Wow, that's amazing. Thanks for sharing that with us. And what is the process like of becoming a Vedic meditation teacher?
Look, it's different depending on who you learn through. You can go to India for 3 months and do it for a full intensive period. Before that, there's some prerequisite knowledge that you have to learn, and that period of time. For me, being that I'm immersed as a householder, my teacher, he taught us over a 12-month period. So we did 6 months of knowledge, and then it was 6 months with like intensives over a 6-month period. And then it culminated with like a 21-day where we're doing pretty much 21 days, up to 14 hours a day of these rounding practices, which is
wow.
Yeah, it was amazing. It was so it was like squeezing the sponge really dry. And that was amazing. So yeah, it was a 12-month process and practice, and to become a teacher of it, and to learn the right mantras for the right people, and how to teach the technique correctly. And the thing I really resonate with it is, even my teacher, he didn't come up with the course structure. My teacher's teacher, Tom Knowles, who's another Maharishi, is a master sage. He didn't come up with it. It was derived from the Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, who was a physicist, and he was the gentleman. He's just an amazing human being that was pretty much responsible for a lot of the meditation in the Western world. So he brought transcendental meditation to the West in the late 90s. And, so he constructed the course. And when you go through it, it's just like, it's almost like you wipe the table clear of any ideas you think of meditation. It's really brilliant. And as I said, I love it. When I came to this, it's like, okay, cool. And just a hollow read, pass through this information. It's so powerful. And it stood the test of time. That's what I love about it. It's been around for so long, and science really loves it. And I just get to sort of be a little conduit to pass it on to the next person. And I kind of liken to that, if you've seen Avatar.
I watched that yesterday.
Oh, did you?
Oh my gosh, I watched it like 2 days ago.
Oh my God, it's seriously the best. It's my new favorite movie. I'm like, this is literally my favorite movie of all time.
Oh, it's so beautiful. And the tree, that big Aya tree.
Yeah.
I kind of liken it to, I feel like I'm a tiny little branch off that 5,000 to 10,000 year old tree. And every time I teach, it's a little bud that might come off it. Whatever happens to it doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. But so I feel intimately connected back to this ancient body, this technology that's been around. It's been in us. It is us, and just get to share it. So, so it's a cool thing. It's and to be a part of it's really cool. So that's why as soon as I'm going to go all in, and this is what I do. So I feel pretty blessed.
And you mentioned before you did so part of like being a teacher, doing a teacher training for this, you did rounding practices. What does that entail? I wasn't sure what that meant.
So rounding is I guess it's a whole nervous system aspect of leading the mind and body into meditation. So rounding is where we're using aspects and tools such as self-massage, coming into contact with self, and that's a couple of minutes of just activating the lymphatic system. Then you start moving, doing asanas, which when we say yoga in the West, people think of yoga as physical postures. They're not. If you went to India and said, do yoga, they'd look at you mad. Yoga means union. So there's these things called asanas, which is the postures which we use. They're a physical set of instructions, and they're a very specific set of postures that are utilized. And it's funny when I teach a lot of yoga teachers, that's really different formatting to the way they would, naturally think, but it's a sequence that's designed to lead the body, the mind inward. And then we do some breath work, 5 minutes of alternate nostril breathing, meditation, 20 minutes, 10-minute shavasana. So it's this whole body nervous system restoration practice. And it's just, it's because meditation, back in the origins of these practices, they'd use breath work and asanas, posture movements, to get the mind and body ready to meditate. just to help remove and release any stress. Then when you come to meditation, you kind of let the mind already settle a little bit because it's released tension and stuff. And then when it's sitting meditation, it's more easily to sink into those deeper states. So it's really a whole nervous system practice, which is really cathartic and beautiful and brilliant.
I've been lucky enough to experience a rounding when I came and helped you on one of your retreats, Rich. And yeah, it just makes perfect sense, like the flow of it. And I know when you first think about, oh my God, I have to do this 3 times, like in a row of the same thing, you get a little bit, oh, how am I going to do this?
Yeah.
This is hard. But then when you're in it, you almost get addicted to that feeling of being purely present, and you're like, I don't really want this to end. I want to keep going on this beautiful journey. And it's all done just from your own breath, your own, motion and movement. And yeah, and touching on what you said about, yoga, I think that's one of the things that is missed in Western world, is that people are so attached to doing yoga as the movement and neglecting that whole philosophy of it, that the asanas were for you to connect to the breath, to then connect to the ability to be able to sit in stillness and meditation.
Yeah.
So I love that you've touched on
that. And it's so apt that you say that, Danny, because you think if yoga was in and of itself the answer, I'd never see stressed or anxious or unhappy yoga teachers. And do you know what I mean? And because the reality is, and I've taught so many yoga teachers that have been like, I can't meditate. My mind's just too busy and a little bit crazy. It's like, yeah, we all are, don't worry. And, and a lot of people think, yeah, well, yoga's my meditation. Bushwalking's my meditation. Art's my meditation. Music's my meditation. Cooking's all wonderful. Love them all, but it's not meditation.
Yeah, it's more like a flow state or full presence.
Totally.
Yeah, it's also a gorgeous state to be in.
Beautiful.
And I love reading about flow state. I'm reading a book, Stealing Fire, which is the same author who did Rise of Superman, who looks at elite athletes and like extreme athletes in flow state. And yeah, it's a beautiful place to be in.
Yeah.
But it's not meditation.
No, really.
People, when they're doing yoga, where a lot of the time there's like this big attachment to how flexible you can be and like pushing your body to the extremes, and like, can you do a headstand or a handstand? And during those moments, you're holding your breath, you're not breathing, you're contracting. And so you're not even present or in touch with that mind-body connection either. So I think if we can go back to that, like it's like a trilogy, like a trifecta. It's the asanas, the breath, and the meditation all together, which can create that harmony.
Yeah, and it's funny. Like I love yoga. I think it's such an amazing thing, and I love the fact that when we look back at the origins, yoga comes before meditation. Now, meditation's been in the West for as long as yoga has, but it wasn't embraced. And it's really, you think, why? Well, the Western world loves the body, right? It's obsessed with what we can see. And that's been our whole reality, is that externally thing. And yoga these days, it's like, yeah, I'm going to do some yoga, and then we're going to catch up for coffee after our interactive gear. It's just become a part of the vernacular of modern world. Yet meditation's been this fringe movement, whereas now, like here we are, like in year 2022, and meditation is now becoming the thing, because as I said, people have kind of realized, well, I've been doing yoga, I've been eating really well, but I'm still not feeling connected or happy. I'm still got this stress. I'm still anxious. And it's like, well, you're kind of looking after the car really well, but we forgot about the driver. And that's where the techniques of meditation, they nurture the driver. So we need movement in the body. We need to look after it and nurture it. And then we need the breath. And then we need the right nutrition. And then we need the stillness of the mind to use these techniques to come into that contact with that underlying field. And then we just far more harmonious. So I kind of laugh that you look at that origins of meditation and breath work, meditation, breath, posture, meditation. And here we are now, that meditation is now catching up and it's being widely adopted and adapted into life. But we've been doing yoga for the last 20, 30 years, and it's been no longer a fringe movement, but widely accepted, and now meditation is too. So it kind of fits for me, like when I look at that, the origins of the practice and what they're for. So it's kind of like we got stuck up on the body, and our body's been looked after. Okay, now mind. It's like, it's kind of cool.
And also with like modern yoga, again, it's like almost like the avoidance of stillness, because when you're doing the yoga, it's a bit more faster and you're just focusing on the postures, then you're still like not taking the time to sit in that stillness. So it all kind of makes sense that that's the flow of it.
Yeah.
I think it could be a really beautiful gateway. I feel it has become a gateway for many to meditation and more mindfulness.
Totally.
Because like, as we talked about at the start of the interview, like, it's very confronting if you were to take someone who maybe has never even practiced yoga before, and then go, okay, meditate. Like, whoa, like closing that's like a lot to deal with. However, perhaps like practices such as yoga, Pilates, these states where we are fully present, cultivate a better state for our self to eventually sit in meditation.
Yeah, definitely. I think that like it definitely warms you up, because if you take someone that's like a corporate worker, does F45 high intensity workout all the time, and then just ask them to straight away go and meditate, it's going to be a very differing thing, I think, than someone that's been practicing yoga for a bit. So it is that gateway to warm someone up to be able to, you know, enter into that next level.
I'm going to play the advocate role here and say you'd be surprised. Hey, like, I've taught so many people that have never stepped foot in the yoga studio, that they are the F45 people. They're entrepreneurs and CEOs and just peak performers. Like, you know, like you sit down next to them, it's almost like you can warm your hands and that on fire. It's like, it's like, oh, they're definitely stealing fire, and they're just like on fire, and they're physically just smashing every goal, and it's amazing. It's like, yeah, go. And then I guide them through this particular practice, and they go, oh my God. Like, I had one guy, he turned up in an E63, which is a Mercedes-Benz AMG, like a 200 grand sports car. And he was in his mid-30s, just a gun of a human being in terms of business performance. And he goes, mate, I'm not here. I don't have anxiety. I don't have depression. I just want to perform at the highest level. And he's been reading about meditation and understood that there's so much neurological benefit to the practice. And so we did the first session. I guided him through the technique. I gave him the mantra. I performed this ancient ceremony, which was wonderful. And then a little bit left field, I might look back to that. But anyway, he went away for the break and then came back to do another session with me. And he goes, you're not going to believe it. He was wearing a smartwatch, and he goes, my resting heart rate dropped down to 55. It has never been below 80. And it measures his sleep, measures everything. And he goes, man, I am just blown away. After one session, I went and sat down in the Eco Village, and I was doing some work and looked at, holy wow. And he felt it. It stayed in that for a period of time. And it's, I said to him, it's like you've got your sports car and you are revving it at 7,000 RPM just to get to the next street light. And you're getting there, you're getting faster than the other cars, but the other car's just cruising at 3,000. It pulls up 5 seconds later. And then you race up again. And then the next light, and then there's that nice car again, and we're constantly catching up, but you're burning the life out of your engine. So that's the wonderful thing these days about these tools, is that we can sort of see this stuff. But it's that he was not someone that not a yoga guy, nothing, but he just knew from a performance aspect that I just want to be a high performer. I know I can get better in my brain. I want to meditate. So that's the crazy thing now is meditate. It's so diverse. The people that are coming to learn. It's really cool. It's like if I took a broad spectrum of everyone I've taught, I'd probably say less than half would be what you call yoga attendees. It's kind of great. Probably.
I think that's why actual Vedic meditation and transcendental meditation is more like people that have like that are in the more like corporate high performance type roles, probably more drawn to them, because it does have like the science behind it as well.
Yeah,
because they're very like in that they're very analytical, and like that's probably what draws them to start with, but then they're able to get quickly into that more relaxed state of flow from it. But initially that's probably what draws it to them.
They can experience it and have that direct connection to that feeling, and as I said, and some of them can even look at their smartwatch and go, oh my God.
It's all tangible.
It's tangible.
Yeah, the measurable data is pretty cool.
It's so, you know, and again, because we know it's not just a placebo. It's not just, you know, we think this works. It's like, no, we know it works. You know, so we don't have to guess or second guess, and, you know, which the critical mind always does, right? No matter what. So, yeah, it's like, it's like, And I often say to people, if they're kind of like at any point, you can lean on the science. Like there's so much to it. Like you improve your grey matter in your brain, you regenerate neural pathways. It's really cool.
Yeah, you're thriving.
You're thriving, yeah. But as I said, like so as much as you said, a lot of people do come from those gateways of the yoga. I said you'd be like these days, like sporty, just fully athletic. It's really cool. It's so cool. Like 10 years ago, it was like, oh, you meditate? It's like now it's every second magazine and stuff. So
well, that's the same with breath work. Like majority of the people that I see are like corporate, high performing, athletic type of people. Like it's now, like with the Wim Hof stuff, like I find that it's probably like a 70-30 split with that.
Yeah. I'd probably really say pretty similar.
It's really cool that you were able to get, like this guy was able to find you at the age that he is, because although he was like not experiencing anxiety, stress at the moment, with the way that you described that analogy of like him, exerting so much energy and effort, by the time he got to 40, he probably would have, experienced all that stuff. So it was like quite beautiful that he found you at the time that he did. So you've actually prevented him from having to, hit rock bottom to build himself back up again.
Yeah, where the body just goes into disease mode because it can't keep up because he's been smashing the engine. He's like, and the fun,
because that's what it is. It's like your body's fine until it's not, and it's like we tend to ignore these warning signs from our body until it's too late.
Because you don't have the owner's manual there, right? It's not like the engine lights are flashing. We're going, I don't know what that means. I'll just keep going, and
I'll take a Panadol, or I'll like just have a bottle, like a glass of wine.
Yeah. And also we've normalized it. It's like this, and especially high performers. It's like I need this feeling. It's like no, you don't. You don't. I don't.
Well, you get addicted to the adrenaline.
Totally. Yeah.
Of it, like that, when the energy buzzing, like when you have a goal, a deadline, and you're like, we've got an hour before it's due, and you kind of like thrive off that, and then when your body doesn't, like, stops being able to get to that stage and you start to experience burnout and things, like that's when you're like, oh shit, I really should have been doing things a little differently.
And we also get accustomed to our normal, like what our normal is. That's different for each person.
Yeah, we become addicted to those little patterns. And what's even funny is, as I teach a lot of people that, like that young guy, they get to the crest of the mountain, they reach the summit, and then realize that, I've been having all these like rewards, serotonins, rewards exploding because I've been achieving, but I've achieved the final summit. It's like, now what? Is this it? And that's why I love it.
That's always like, it's like good to have those like celebrations when you actually achieve something before like looking to what's next? I need that constant stimulation. I need that constant looking forward.
There must be like, it must be like, because I suppose you kind of entered this meditation world from that point as well. Like you mentioned earlier in your story, it must be kind of cool when people come to you maybe and go, I'm feeling this like just discontent, and then you can teach them this practice.
It's really cool, Danny. It's been such a loop back, and the thing I love also about it is that, for a while, because when I went down the Vipassana Buddhist route, it's like, okay, maybe I just tap out of all that stuff, right? And I just go and just live on a bowl of rice. That way I find happiness, because that's what Buddha did, and I'll just go and do these arduous things. And yet, we are a human being. We're here to perform and partake in life and to be as active as possible and to help the evolution of our species in the right way. And a lot of us do get, I think Jim Carrey said it beautifully, wish everyone could have fame and fortune so they'd realize it's not the answer. We've kind of been hung up on thinking these external metrics are the answer. Then they get them, they realize it's not. And then they can start to, then they start exploring, hopefully they start exploring, what can I do? Because I'm kind of feeling like I've done everything, ticked every box, but I'm still like hungry for something. And that hunger, if there's, as long as there's longing involved in the nervous system, we can just never feel like truly happy in the moment, because it's the next thing keeps driving them, and it becomes like just a catching fire. Like we're just constantly chasing that next high, whereas when we can start to adopt these sort of practices in, we can still do all that, but yet it doesn't matter. Like I'm still alive, and I'm just a part of life and that energy of life. And, why not just enjoy the ride and enjoy the step and enjoy the process? And like that guy in the E55, like enjoy the car. And wow, what an experience! But I don't have to burn the engine out but I still perform equally as well, if not better. So to have them to touch these practices where they can just go, oh my God, like there's something beyond that surface level. It's like I can touch that in a depth, but then still go out and live. Still go out and like do all that stuff, but yet kind of realize it's a wonderful game, but it's not so consuming. But yet we still play the game. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it's funny you should say that analogy of the car, because I caught myself the other day. I was driving out from Tullabudra Valley and I was in a bit of a rush, and I was driving, and then all of a sudden the car in front of me like pulled to the side to let me pass. And then I was like, oh, I didn't even realize I was like tailgating them. And then I was like, oh, okay. And then
I keep having the same kind of I did the exact same thing as you the other day too. Why are we mirroring each other's lives?
I don't know. And then I finally like got to the traffic lights at West Burleigh, and they turned red, and that same car was just behind me. And it was a nice realization of like, why was I rushing? I got to the same destination at the exact same time, but I was, not present, and I was like just not being in the moment. And so it was a real nice wake up call for that. So I really thank that car for bringing that into my attention and that vortex, because
I think that's a really, really powerful like an analogy you mentioned there is that we're not living mindfully, because we are in the car, and when we're in the car thinking about our next destination, or we're thinking about something, we're not being present in the moment. And that's really like, most of us, that we're just kind of constantly jumping. And again, you look at something like the Eckhart Tolle talks about the power of now and so on. And, again, Jedi Knight move to live permanently in that space, it's pretty gnarly to be able to achieve that. We need to be able to future plan and forward pace, but as I said, we're doing it like incessantly, and we're drinking the water, thinking about what we're cooking for dinner, or we're eating dinner, thinking about what we're going to do after dinner, or what we're going to put the show on, and rather than just enjoying the meal and tasting the food and sitting in the car and enjoying the view, like it's back to that kind of looking through the windscreen. I've got to get there, and rather than just being able to take it all in and enjoy it. And because life is in those moments, when we lose them, we get lost in thought. We kind of tap ourselves out temporarily, and then we get to the street light, and as you said, the guy's just cruising behind us and enjoying the music. Got the same time, or 2 seconds later. It's like,
I know. I was kind of mortified. I was like, almost wanted to pull the window down and be like, sorry guys, I know I was not being present.
Isn't it like when we kind of teach us these sort of practices, when we catch ourselves in that same sort of
But that's what I also love about having these practices, because I feel like that I had the awareness to recognize that when that happened. And so although I got lost for a moment, I still had the ability to observe and learn from that experience. And had I not done or been committed to doing these practices, then those moments of learning and growth don't take place, because you're ignorant to them.
You're not even aware that you just say, get up a bath, the time.
Hurry up.
And I think it's so really cool. Like I call them my pork chop moments, and it's like, oh dude, you went back to being a pork chop, and when we lose a bit of stress, I've got to get into that anxious pattern. And we do lose our intelligence, and that's when we say silly things. And then when the brain kicks back and says, "Oh my God, I was such a dickhead in that moment." It's like, yeah, you're human. It's okay, And then we can bring our awareness to it. So then it's just like, and that's the trick and the key to breaking those negative patterns and cycles, is to bring our awareness into those moments. So therefore, they don't become, as you mentioned before, Danny, that we become addicted to our reality and those feelings, because that becomes us. So we can just go, oh, hold on, I don't want to be that anymore. And so I think that's what that concept of mindfulness. So for me, mindfulness is eyes open meditation. How am I living in the moment? Am I connected to the moment, or am I where I want to go and thinking about where I want to be, rather than being in the present? And as I said, it's so much power in all that sort of stuff. To use, and again, the greatest tool for that is breath. It's coming back, breathe in, and back to breath.
Yeah, I think it may have been in another interview but and I'm still working on this massively. Like I definitely want to be more present more often. But my partner was saying just like having a transition, like taking a breath between each task. And I
Oh.
definitely still need to work on that. But just like taking a moment going, okay, I finished this task, have one breath, do the next one.
That's so
Instead of like rushing from thing to thing to thing, all of a sudden you're multitasking 5 things and not doing any of them.
I'll tick the box. Next.
Or having like 12,000 tabs open on your computer, like you're just like like going between each of them.
It's like when you open up your phone and you go to shut down an app and you're shutting down 15, 20 apps you didn't realize you had open. But that's what's happening now. That's the same thing that I think that's probably, I often refer to that as, this is what meditation is. It's like you are shutting down all the apps behind the scenes that you're not even aware you're running until you start to close them down. And I was, oh my God, I had like 25 apps open here that's consuming all that energy within inside my nervous system. And, classic case was, I had one lady, she was meditating and we did a check-in call a couple of weeks later and she goes, I'm falling asleep all the time, but I'm not a tired person. It's like, well, your body's trying to tell you differently. No,
your body's tired.
I'm on the go. And yet the minute she starts to meditate, she was falling asleep. And it's just like, you're just shutting down all these old programs that are sitting in there and you've been burning that wick at both ends and your body just needed deep rest. And that's so cool that you're giving it that space to. So don't think you're failing. Your body's just going, oh my God, thank you. Thank you so much. You're shutting down the apps. And then when we reboot, it's like, oh, cool. I can then open one app. And then sometimes we find ourselves back with 20 apps. And that's when we're racing down the road going, oh my God, move over.
Yeah, that actually happened to me when I did my first 2 days of because I first did transcendental meditation, and that happened to me. I was sitting in the chair, like kept falling asleep, going, no, I can't stay present. But then that was what the lady said to me. It's like, yeah, you're just giving your body permission to to reprogram and to shut down.
Yeah, totally. It's so cool that we can do that. Like, and as you said,
it's great, and it's amazing how intelligent the body is.
Oh, body's insanely the wisdom inside our nervous system. Oh my gosh, it's like it's nature designed it. It's like so cool. It's like so much innate wisdom in there, and the body knows what it needs. It's just got to be given the right environment, and if we give it the environment, the body can heal and do so much wonderful stuff and regenerate. But we just got to.
I always get caught in that rabbit hole of like honoring the body, of like, how did our nervous system grow? Or like, wow, like this is like if I broke my bone, my body is sending healing to that. Like, how does this all happen? It's like phenomenal.
And the lunatic's got nothing to do with it.
Yeah. I actually found this like crazy fact the other day that like a woman who is pregnant in a coma, her body can give birth.
Oh wow!
Like the body just knows what to do.
Yeah.
Wow.
I know one of my friends who just had a little bubba. Found that like her midwife told her that, and I was like, whoa. She's like, yeah. She's like, and I was in so much pain, and she's like, I'm making this. Like,
So,
so
cool.
Speaking of the computer tabs being open, that's how I felt on day 1 to 4 on Vipassana. It felt like there was 100,000 tabs open. And then they all slowly shut down.
And then the body goes, oh, thank you so much. And again, it's all, you think about it, right? All those programs running behind the scene, that's why we're not feeling great. And when we shut them down, the body can start to let go of the old habits, the old patterns, the old this, the old that. And then the wisdom inside us can just come to the surface to go, oh, okay, this is, because a lot of people don't really know, who am I, what do I want to be? And when we're so trapped up in those stages and all those apps are running behind the scene, it's like, it's impossible for us to get that innate wisdom of our own conscious self. Yet when we touch that deeper stuff, it comes up to the surface, like, oh man, I'm here to do this. I'm here to be that. Because I think we've all got our innate gifts and our uniqueness, all got our such unique flavors. There'll never be another replication of us as individuals. And to express that for who and what we are, I think we've just got to get out of our own way and let that wisdom come through and shut down the apps. And I think it's another beautiful sideline benefit of the practice is that we just become more connected to our sense of self and that intimate connected to all self through that. But I think that's another nice aspect that people go, I don't know what I am or what do I want to do. And so when you're so stuck up in that agitated beta brain activity, good luck trying to find it, because you've got like 25 apps running there, and they're all taking power, they're all taking energy. Whereas when you can shut them down, it's just like, this little intuitive voice comes through. It's like, oh, go there. It's like, okay, cool. Oh my God, this happened. So yeah, I think that's another beautiful practice. I think that comes as when we incorporate these practices into our life daily.
I love that saying of like just getting out of your own way.
Yeah.
When I went to do my training in Poland for the Wim Hof teacher training.
Yeah.
That was what I had to use as a way, like when we had to climb up the mountain in the snow and we we're just wearing like our bike pants and swimmer, like crop top. And it was like I was creating my pain and suffering. Like I was just like, oh, I can't do this. Like I'm not good enough. I'm going to die. But then that was the actual word frame that I used. Just get out of your own way. Your body is amazing. Just get out of your own way. And the minute that I actually got out of my own way, my body started generating heat.
Oh, wow.
So it's our minds that create this reality.
Yeah.
And our thoughts that create the reality and suffering. So
And
if we can get out of our own way, then magic.
Yeah, and physics shows us this now, like that we're creating our own reality. It's like the cutting edge science. It's just, you really look at your life and go, oh my God, I've just created this crazy lunatic reality for no real reason. And we can be so much more and do so much more. As you said, like walking up into a mountain, a freezing mountain in like, what did you say? Like, yeah, short.
It was spike pants and crop top. Yeah,
it's insane.
Like -5 degrees.
In your active wear.
Yeah, we're allowed shoes, but nothing else.
Yeah.
But no coffees.
No coffee.
That's so cool. You know, like you look at that. And I often do think about some of your sharings, like, you know, being uncomfortable in the uncomfort, or being comfortable in the uncomfortable. And I was actually sitting in my ass bath this morning, and it was like 2 degrees, and some of your little words of wisdom were filtered through it.
Find the calm with the storm.
Yeah, I'll have to picture that when I'm next time up, when you climb the mountains. Okay, get up. But, and that's another thing. I love that concept, and I think again this is another really powerful concept for today, with what's going on in the world. Is these techniques help us find stillness in the storm, and that because this storm ain't going away. Like I think the reality we're currently experiencing might even get worse for the next 12, 18 months. I don't know. I think it's always been part of the human game, is that there's always human drama. Yet if we can, as individuals, just be that unique stillness, that when all this stuff's raging around us, we can create our version of reality to be more chilled and more calm. And that way we're not adding to the fire. We're just putting out good vibes and helping people remain coherent and intelligent and compassionate and creative to intellectually and intelligently solve situations and so on. So yeah, that stillness in the storm is something which I think is really, really apt.
Yeah, but it will be interesting. I'm trying to have not too many expectations for this year and just see what happens.
Non-attachment.
Yeah.
Thank you, Buddha.
Practice of non-attachment.
And it comes back to what you said before, Danny, with the ability to adapt, you know, because if we're holding expectations too firmly on something being a particular way, we lose our ability to adapt flexibly to that situation. Because as you said, if we all expected to travel, like I was talking to a friend before, and him and his wife were meant to fly out to Japan for 5 weeks. His wife's Japanese, hasn't seen a mum for several years, and this was on the 24th. They meant to fly out. If you're so firmly attached to that, we start to suffer, you know. And in the current reality, we just realize that we just got to stay flexible and have the ability to adapt as the situation presents itself, because that's, you know, we don't have control, and we've learned that the only thing we can really control is our reactions to what's playing out at hand, and then make intelligent decisions from that. So yeah.
When you have attachment, you miss out on the possibility of what something better could have taken place if you're so fixed on the outcome that you thought.
Yeah.
Sometimes our minds can't even express what is possible.
Yeah.
So when we get out of our own way, we've got this opportunity just to grow and to experience something greater.
Yeah, when you become so like locked in on my destination is here and that's all I'm heading towards, then you miss those beautiful little detours that could turn out to be the biggest blessing of your life. Oh my God, like I thought I was doing, I took a wrong turn, and it unfolded that I met the love of my life, and this happened, and that's that fluidity, you know. And I think we need to have targets and move towards the right direction, but as you said, you don't want to be too inflexible with what's happening.
I think if you like create like a little bit of a roadmap, like of a framework of like what you want to happen, but then be like, loose with it, because it's good to have, things that you desire and that you want to experience, but how that unfolds, that's the mystery and the beauty of life, because we don't have control of everything. And I think that's the hardest human lesson to realize, is that we don't have control of everything. We can't.
I think COVID's been the greatest gift of that, because everyone thought we were so in control of it. No, we're not. And there's a really beautiful thing from the Vedic philosophy that is and the concept of we have a preference but not attachment. So I prefer to have a beautiful house and go traveling and do all this stuff, but I'm not attached to it. I prefer to have a nice car, but I'm not attached to it. So if I don't get it, no big deal. But we can go and experience all things, but we're not attached to any particular outcome. But sure, as you said, we prefer to have these desires fulfilled, but be fluid to see and adapt to the situations as they unfold along that journey. But just no holding things too firmly, because it's that which we hold on too firmly is that, as Buddha said, that's where the suffering gets really created, when we're too attached to things.
That's the way that I like to travel. Like, I'll book a flight somewhere and then have like another hotel or something booked like somewhere along the track, but then just see what happens and unfolds. And they're the most amazing experiences that I've had, because I haven't had somewhere that I needed to get to. It was just like, where am I going to go? And then like you find this off the beaten track thing that you do, and I love applying that to life.
That's so good. Yeah, totally. Like, because who would have thought you would have ended up a breathwork teacher, hey? Like 15 years starting day.
My God, if someone had told me that 15 years ago, I'd be like, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm going to be a director of an accounting firm, or like some sort of like big wig.
Yeah. and to honor that for some, that is their dharma and their beauty.
Oh, I was just about to say that. Yeah, I've got nothing against that. That just, it was funny. Like, I was so attached to that feeling, but then it was when I like let go of that attachment and just sat back, that now I've ended up on this journey. And it is, and like that was my big lesson of attachment, to let go of what I considered.
It's unfolding for you to watch it, and the impact with people, and that's so awesome.
Oh, well, I have absolutely loved this chat, and I've just realized the time. So is there anything else you wanted to add, Rich? We're going to take you on a bit of a quick fire round question.
No, I think we've had a good chat, and thumbs up.
Awesome. So we're going to start off with a question that we love to ask everyone. If you had a billboard anywhere in the world, where would it be, and what would your message be?
Oh, gosh, where would it be? Well, I'll just think of the only billboard I can only reference right now. It's at the Currumbin Valley turnoff, because it's close to home. And it would say, I'm going to borrow a line from the Maharishi, and it'd be, water the root and the tree will bear fruit.
Oh, love it.
That's beautiful.
So what would you like your life legacy to be?
That's a cool question. My life legacy. Don't follow others. Follow in your own footsteps, and be guided from the natural instincts and desires that arise within, and just be the change in the person you wish to be.
Beautiful. Love that.
Yeah, that's really beautiful. I have some more like musical flavored questions. The first album you ever bought?
I think it's either going to be, I'm really bad with remembering names of songs and albums, but it was either a Hoodoo Gurus or a Midnight Oil album. It might have been the one that had Red Sails in the Sunset on it, from Midnight Oil, but it may have been a Hoodoo Gurus one. I can't remember.
Sick. And the first gig you ever went to? or live show?
It was, I'm pretty sure it was a festival, and it had, I think that one of the headline acts was Johnny Diesel.
Nice. That's so good. And he's still playing now as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so good. And if you could get up on stage with like any artist in the world, who would it be?
Alive or dead?
I'll let you just say anyone.
Okay. I'd have to probably say, I'm going to say the Beatles.
Oh,
Yeah, that would be so
good
amazing.
call.
Yeah,
Good call.
and just because, like, imagine that, like, having those people that looking at you at that, these are the people who've changed. Like, imagine that, like, from such an era that they came out of, and that sensation of hope within people. And I kind of think right now, if that could be replicated, that those seeds of change from these great musicians that get transferred to people, like, I kind of think the world needs that right now. A bit of rock and roll rebellion and a bit of gumption to go and, do we need to follow certain ways, or can we just, be a bit more rebellious? And yeah, I'd say I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, love it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, no, thank you so much for your time today. I've learned so much, and I have a feeling we're going to have you on again.
I'd love to.
Later on. Yeah. I feel like there's still more to uncover.
Anytime. Well, lovely you guys, and thank you very much for having me.
Thank you.
Thanks,
and I
Rich.
promise I'll meditate.
All right. Yeah.
All right.
See you later.
Bye. Bye.
If you loved what you heard today and want to hear more, then don't forget to head over to your chosen platform of choice and subscribe so you can hear more of It's Glow Time.